check that link up
You know what
top
else?
and let's talk about it. Those that
Mm-hmm.
seen the movie, watch it again
Mm-hmm.
just to refresh yourself. Let's talk
Hell
about that.
yeah. You know what else was my shit, dope? When T.I. looked at Denzel, he said, I want to be you, huh? I want to be you, Frank.
Yeah, it's
He
nothing
said,
like
oh,
a Diddy
you.
party. Remember LeBron said, nothing like a Diddy
Yeah,
party.
nothing like a Diddy party.
Nothing like a Diddy party. I bet
Crazy.
it wasn't. He had 100,000, whatever, a
Yeah.
baby, what baby
Yeah,
bottle
with
was.
baby oil and shit,
Yeah,
sponges and
man.
all that. Right.
Man, he probably having like he probably got like
Crazy.
a little like tuck and slide, like they all grown up
Damn.
sliding on the slides with the baby.
Right.
You
Wow.
know he a super freak.
Right.
Super
$1,000
freak,
an hour.
super
Hey man,
freak.
fuck up how y'all doing P Diddy right now, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey man, he's a
Crazy.
weirdo, man. That nigga's a clown.
How
Yeah.
y'all gonna put
Nah,
that?
but you know what?
The
Hey,
red old jacket on him, bro,
hey,
like that.
nah,
bro.
he there. Hey, Gino, he already there, but he made
How?
some of the best
How?
shit. He made
Y'all,
some.
bro,
He
you
already
done dealt with
there.
the police before, bro. You know how much shit they can cape up on your case,
Yeah,
bro.
no doubt.
And say,
Yeah.
you know
I've
that,
been
bro.
detained before. I've
Me
been
too.
locked
know
up
how
for
to
a
crack
stolen
it.
car. And this is how I
Mm.
beat all my shit. Like, listen, if you was smarter than me, bitch, you wouldn't be a cop. You'd be me.
Mm. Mm. No doubt.
Nah, it
Nine
was
times out
not.
of
I would
10,
say it wasn't a
they
thousand
rely on
bottles.
you.
It might
They
have been
rely,
100
police.
bottles. It wasn't 1,000 bottles. Okay, it was 100 bottles. You know, if they say it was 1,000, it could. It damn sure could have been 10 of them, and they just said 1,000.
That's fine. But look, the
Yeah.
crazy thing about police is they get y'all to do their job. And they never forget to remind you you got the right to remain silent. You figure it out.
Do y'all think
What
that
do you think?
they figured out how to prosecute better within our own community as far as like when they came after R. Kelly? That was really hard to do that takedown because we lightweight love R. Kelly because of his influence
Hell
on
No.
us,
yeah. Hell yeah.
right?
That's right. He
But
wanted. That's the king of R&B right there.
do you think they figuring out how to prosecute better, like within, like, okay, so we gonna set this dude up for a whole year, talking shit about him,
Mm.
showing videos, exposing him, bop bop bop, and then kind of make the turn a tide where you kind of like, well, damn, did he
Mm.
damn, and then
So
release
my
that
best,
video. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
perfect prosecution. It's like
well,
I
my
can't tell because
my
they
best
still
friend
got
will tell
they still
you.
got Young Thug and that motherfucker. The judge was fucked up 10 times already.
My best
Right.
friend will tell you that I've been waiting for, like, us New Yorkers. We've been
Right. Yeah. We
waiting
out
for a
here
Diddy takedown for
for years,
decades.
forever.
We've been
Yo.
waiting for this.
Hey.
This is
Hey.
not
Hey.
something that
Hey.
media didn't have to build us up for this.
Right. She talking about New York. She talking about New York.
We know
Hey.
what's up.
Hey.
We
Vanity.
knew
Hey.
who was up.
A Vanity, and you see they just
Yo,
released. You see they just released
no, this is
Kim Porter's
crazy,
book.
B.
They released it.
Oh, they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, it came out Tuesday, and then a Vanity Al B. Shore was on the Breakfast Club talking about that shit. Yes,
Wow.
he was on there Wednesday, and then Total was on there Thursday. You know
Talking
what
about
I'm saying?
him.
Everything, yes.
Yo.
And then Eve was just on there Friday because her book came out Tuesday too. Her and Kim Porter's book came out on the same day.
Hey,
Yeah,
dope.
she talked
I'm
shit
glad
about
done.
Jay-Z. She said Jay-Z called her when her album came out.
Right.
Hey, dope.
But yo, I just want to just drop this
turned about.
before.
Hold on, y'all.
Nothing
Hey, I
like a
turned to my
Diddy
wife
party, man.
2 days ago. I was like, babe. I was like, what if P Diddy pull a Frank Lucas and get on the
Yeah.
stage? Hey, hold on, bro. I was like, what if P Diddy just drop a dime on everybody?
Everybody, yeah. Yeah, he is.
That's why they got him on Soul Side. So they could mind
But
people
I was
that.
just saying that because me and Dope was like one of the kind of the mind like, cause I brought that shit to my wife like, bro, all this shit sound like it's some American gangster shit,
Yeah.
and he just finna start this.
Good fellowship. This is
Hell yeah. He said it. Henry Hill. Remember Henry Hill was a snitch. Hell yeah. Right.
I'm like, well, Puffy been young from the beginning, right?
That's right.
So
Y'all kill me with the fuck bitch dirty, bro. Y'all really.
So
Yeah,
you know,
hell yeah.
he gonna tell that people.
So they just also have some tapes that have the possibly implicated
He been saying that shit.
Hold on, yo. They got some tapes that's possibly implementing the Kardashians
say, "Hey, Vanity, you notice J Lo ain't never double back. She ain't never go back to the nigga."
I know, man.
But see, like, she could be incriminated because she lied on the stand about Sean.
Does anybody understand why this
Really?
is happening? He did it. Somebody
She
behind
testified. Yo, who's playing R. Kelly?
Yeah,
You
who
ever-
playing that? No, that's Diddy. Yeah, that's Diddy.
y'all
Diddy and
weird.
R. Kelly.
That's
Oh, yeah,
He's
y'all
playing
weird.
that.
Y'all weird.
Yeah. No, that's him doing that, Vanity. That's him doing that.
Money to cut that down. Hey,
Yeah, that's
look,
him.
so does it-
Yo, man, it's a lot of talking at the same time. Like, we need, like, to have some organization in this motherfucker.
Yeah. What's up, dog?
Looks good.
I was asking, did anybody understand why this even happened to P. Diddy after he's been exposed since 1990 something?
So,
It's cause of Kamala. They gotta cover it up. He blackmailing everybody. That motherfucker crazy. Wendy Williams, that big fat bitch is dead. It's all tied to Kamala. They're trying to cover up his connection to Kamala and the Clintons and to Obama. The Democrats in the deep state booty hole.
Hey, don't
I
mean.
got pop niggas. Y'all come off mic while he's talking. You getting pop.
Yeah, I got him.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate that, bro. So I'm giving you real information. Diddy was exposed by Wendy Williams in the 90s. That's why she was counseled. And that's why she in the position she was in if you ever just really studied what's going on with her.
Exactly.
And so now, you think after he was exposed, why was he able to carry on with the violations of laws that he's been able to carry on for so long? It's because he was backed by a lot of powerful people. Plus, he belongs to the Baphomet. Now, we're going to skip past that. So today, Diddy got exposed because he violated a level of powerful people who was backing him. If you understand, P. Diddy owns Ciroc, or he's a partnership with Ciroc. We're one of the biggest liquor distributors in America. And so, with that being said, he sued them and went to court and got a settlement from them for prejudice and racism. So once he sued that powerful company, they pulled the veil off of him. That's why he's going through it.
I would like to add some
Exactly,
context to
alright.
that.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm trying to be nice.
You, David, you were nice. You asked me to calm down. I did calm down, and now I'm hearing crickets. So take the opportunity and speak.
That's you know, to be calm is like.
You're the one that told me to calm down. For the second time, I calmed down. Go ahead and speak. Well, fair enough then. No problem. Adrian gets a pop-up room as long as two people aren't speaking over each other and you're on topic. Go ahead. As long as you don't say that all communication is.
So I'll stay on topic.
I'm sorry, David. I could have sworn I heard you say no less than 30 seconds ago you chose not to. So, David, go on mute. Go on mute, David. Second request. I gave you an opportunity. I gave you two opportunities. Go on mute, David, please. All right. Well, obviously you'd rather laugh, so there you go. Go ahead and laugh in the audience so we don't have to listen to you. Go ahead.
So I won't mention any former speakers. I'll just stick to the topic. Free Willy, and you know this is a little bit like the Leviathan, which is really your subconscious mind and your connection to the superconsciousness. And when I was a kid, my dad said to me, "Hey, you want to go audition for a movie?" I said, "Sure." what's it called? He said Free Willy. I said, what's it about? He said, it's about an orca. And they're trying to free it, and they're doing auditions in downtown Chicago. So I went and I auditioned as a child actor to play the part of the little boy in Free Willy. And, you know, it turns out that pedophilia and pederasty is real. This director...
Yeah, thanks for that one. I was going to say, I don't know who did that, but when pedophilia was brought up, thank you. It's our old friend. No, thank you. Thank you.
Harlequin, are you, what's your stance on free will? Are you feminist, compatibilist, libertarian?
Well, honestly, Caleb.
Free Willy.
And forgive me if I'm too specific. I know you struggle with such things, but if I may very quickly, Elliot, I like your comment in the group chat. Free the Leviathan. Thank you. Right. But Caleb, yeah, I mean, honestly, if you recall, just like when I gave you that like quick little rundown from what I observed thus far, just being in the room maybe like 15 minutes longer than you. That's kind of how I view it. Like, you have these antecedent events, these causes that came before, not to mention any and all other external influences that at any given moment are informing and affecting the quote-unquote choice that you make. I think that this is a sort of, like, a rascal will call it like a useful fiction, and that has efficacy. That applies, but I think it could be that as well as representative of something perhaps actual, right? It's just, where does that and then the useful fiction begin, as far as, you know, we're post hoc retroactively trying to tell ourselves that we as individuals, our identity is intact as we generally colloquially understand identity, like that this is throughout time, like we can attribute these actions to this identity. I think that's hubris. It's kind of like, it's comforting more, I think, than anything else. And it just makes sense. Like, I think perhaps, and this is something that I can't speak to directly because it's not my wheelhouse, but perhaps it's just the case that, like, for this whole machine of human to work, we need to be somewhat under the impression that I have this executive prowess, or maybe rather I would say that maybe humanity is born out of this illusion of executive prowess, the fall in the garden, as it were, as this seemings of separation from nature. Even if it's just the case that is our nature, right? Like, more broadly, that is our nature.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's how much of a powerful illusion does something have to be before it's no longer?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I should just say.
I mean, that's sort of the biggest argument from, you know, some people just sort of don't take it very seriously. Well, it just seems like you have free will. It's like, yeah, I mean, that might be easy to write off. But like, our seemings are very powerful, and certainly that seems to be like the default position for most people, right?
Yeah, we seem to be.
Tell someone that they don't have free will is like the taught position. It's not the position most people would come to of their own conclusions without like reading.
It's a social cultural imposition almost, right? It's like if we're talking, if I were to ask you, now can you repeat back to me what I just said to you so I know you understand me? That's going to seem like a bit of an imposition. Well, it is an imposition with respect to the conversation. It's going to seem like a bit of an insult, like, well, you don't think I can keep up with you kind of thing? And yet, nevertheless, how often is it the case that we don't know what the other person is trying to communicate, even if they're good at communicating, right? Because we carry all the baggage behind us, and that plays a role within the conversation to a degree that we're not always even aware of. So, yeah, I agree with you, but I think it's a social problem. I don't know that it necessarily reflects some, like, contradiction, you know. Well, I'll say.
Yeah, I think the identity point you made is good as well. Because I do have some issue with, I mean, I have lots of issues, but in terms of the reductionist point, like about just saying that all humans are basically just reducible to antecedent causes, and that does make mereology really, I mean, mereology is complicated as it is, but it seems like you have to just deny. Like, what is it for me to be Caleb? Because the Caleb from 5 seconds ago is slightly different both biologically and, I guess, mentally and subconsciously than I was 5 minutes ago, right? Yet, it seems like by all intents and purposes, I'm still the same person, right? Even though there's been a series of causes that have changed now.
Yeah, but Caleb of now is the only one that has access to the memories of Caleb of the past.
What made it Caleb of the past in the first place, though? Like, like I have access to memories of the past, but does that make it me? And I agree with you. I think memory is important, but then it gets weird scenarios of like, what if I lose my memory? What if there's false memories?
And what if I remember some things that you forget? Am I now like housing part of your identity, or am I like responsible for your
Yeah,
identity? Does it treat your reminder? Yeah,
Garlic, let me just like enlighten you for a second. That's marriage.
Aha!
Yeah, that's a good point though. Or if you
If you live with a group of other people enough and you like trust them and you function together as a group, like even in office space, you outsource mental and physical energy to the others. So like, I don't know medicine, my wife doesn't know law, and we all figure it out. But because that's what money does, right? But your memory of our interaction, like let's say that could be a thing. Like if you and I hang out a lot and we had a barbecue, and I'm terrible at remembering, and you remember. That's partly why I keep you around, because you've got the memory of the barbecue, and I don't. So yes, I am offloading my memory. But more specifically, the reason I don't think you're me when you remember the barbecue is because even though you remember the barbecue that I was at and you remember that event, you don't remember my memories of that event. Only I have the potential to have that memory. And, to further on your question about amnesia, which is interesting, to some degree, it's interesting. If we imagine me fully amnesiac, not access to any of my past memories, except like, interacting, coordinating, we'd call that maybe like some deep memory. There would still be something, like there'd be some kind of a personality in the way that I express myself, I guess, how I learned to button my shirt again. But yeah, we would say that that's a new personality, but there is some kind of a core true identity in the base. And we probably say that even from the infant, who obviously has memories of nothing because nothing has happened yet.
Yeah, I guess I would just say identity as being like the core aspects of the person, the most fundamental passions and desires that you have. And of course, that can change depending on circumstance and time of life. But I think it's just expressed in different ways. The same general interests, the same personality traits. I think what's define you ultimately. And if you change enough of that, then you wouldn't be the same person. That's where it gets complicated. I will bring up the identity point to say that I think that is related to the free will point. I feel like under a reductionist deterministic standpoint, one would have to be sort of a neurological nihilist with identity, which to me seems like a very extreme view to take.
Have you ever met someone like when they were young, and you also knew them when they were older, and there was like in your own head a mental disconnect that it could not be that child became that person, or was it always like could be, or even I saw it, something like that?
I personally have not met that, but I do know people who say that or have right for Johnson, so I can conceive of that.
I don't think I've ever met a person that ended up completely outside of where I saw them. Like, I feel like there was always kind of a person. I've never seen like a flip, I don't think.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess when you have like deconversions and stuff like that, or like really extreme corruptions of character, right? Like think of like Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face or something like that. Villains stories. I think that could be to some degree an example of that. But some people might say, well, that was always that way from the beginning, and the liberties to get to that point, So
Yeah, but that's just a non.
Need to say like this like emergent like outcome was equal. Like you could say like yes, there was like constituent necessary like parts that were in you, right? But like clearly not the whole thing, not the necessary thing. I mean like that was something I was thinking about earlier, Caleb. Is like if like just playing with this idea that like what if I remember some of the memories that you've forgotten, and like so am I responsible for this? Am I a part of this now? Where do you exist? Like locally speaking, like where are you? I just think it disrupts the whole thing in a social cultural sense. Like we're going to have a new conversation. Now we have to, right? It breaks the mold of so many other like systems, like cultural institutions that are based upon like the assumptions, right? That like I know what you mean when you speak to me, and like I'm going to provide for you the dignity, right? I'm gonna allow your dignity to remain intact by playing along that you are who you say you are and the things that you attribute to you, etc. So forth. So,
Right, calm down.
but do you see what I'm saying there, Caleb? Like, I don't think, because it would just be the case that like whatever comes after that is just sort of like the social like immersions, right?
Yeah, I think
that would work.
None of it is with the individual.
Okay, what would that look like if we controlled for that and we just have some guy who's been raised on an island his whole life who's never interacted with anyone?
Yeah, but be nice. Be nice.
Yeah, it would be. Well, so wait, what's your question, Caleb? Because right.
Yeah, like I would still. I'm not sure that this is what you're saying, but I
There's
think
like 1,000 things. There's 1,000 ways to be like mean. There's 1,000 ways to be like whatever. But, like, come on.
Yeah, David, that may be true, but I know what you've done is interrupt people.
Yeah, but you can be nice.
David,
Come on.
David, please stop. David, please stop interrupting people, especially the mods. Thank you.
Yeah, like anyone who has
Yeah,
like a
but with all
personality.
due respect, like everyone is.
Okay, with all due respect, you've been moved to the audience. We have a very simple rule here in this pop-up non-recorded room. It's very simple. Don't interrupt the mods. Thank
Yeah, what I'm saying is any person has like a bit of a core personality, and I think that's like go to the parents. Like I don't think I've ever met a person that had a personality that you couldn't look at their parents and be like, okay, I see where they got some of this, some of that. And then there's the memories, like what they did with that innate hunk of matter on this planet, what they decided to remember or contextualize about things they think they experienced. And then, like, the identity is the guy that has access to that. You're only ever you. No one has your memories. I didn't learn to read and write the way you did, you know. So we're going to be, in a certain essential way, different. Our
It's like,
minds
can
are
I-
going to function differently.
Can I push back in a way that maybe hopefully incorporates some of what I think Caleb was mentioning
I
earlier,
think
which
you
is
could.
what happens if we put that kid on an island, right? I don't know why we're going back to the island, but what if this kid is essentially like removed from that environment that you're identifying, right? Because you could take a fish out of the water that it's been in its whole life, right? And you could eventually dry that fish out. You'd never know, for God's sake, you didn't know where fish live. You'd never know that fish spent its whole life. You want to think how dry it is. So I think for you to make that claim regarding a kid that is currently like living with, like saturated in this environment, well, yeah, it just goes without saying that that environment is going to, and I think really the thing I would say is like, we know kids are impressionable, so they're going to be absorbing whatever their environment is. I think that'd probably be a way to like test that idea. Wouldn't you agree with that? Is if we just regard other people in those environments and we just see how it play out in their life.
So, like, you know, there's nature and there's nurture.
With all of the heated back and forth.
Nurture, we could maybe
Between
like
my
copy.
opponent?
Nature. We could probably copy nature and get like a genetic copy, get different clones,
And
see
me
which
and the
personalities
last-
are extant simply by nature,
We
regardless of
approve it.
nurture. You know, control randomized study with a bunch of clones.
And if we were to do that, we would be able to determine the natural bits, but each one would still have nurture distinctions. With AI, theoretically, like if we are really good with our guessing, that's like the AI is like the calculus of human choices, right? It doesn't matter what beautiful snowflake soul you have that chooses left sometimes and right other times, because we can calculus with algorithms in AI and be right to 99.99%.
And actually be
And honestly, who really cares
civil.
about that last percentage point, if it's even there, right? So I've got you. At that point, can a person understand another person's like memories and processing? It would still need to be communicated, so there'd be like a middle, right? The AI can perfectly orient you, but then you have to translate that to someone other than them, because they already understand what they're going to do. They're going to keep doing it. Honestly, it would be kind of cool to see what the AI says I'm going to do before
You know,
But
make,
no, theoretically.
make Zed, after you're done, put me in your queue.
Okay, I'm done in a second. I'm sorry. If you translate that, there would have to be a middle, right? So you have an AI representation of the person's mind. That would have to be communicated to another person, and then theoretically, I fully understand that person. I know all of his choices. I can, ask the algorithm to explain him to me, and he will, in ways that I will understand based on, my little AI thing.
But you wouldn't have the aboutness, right? You wouldn't have the qualia. You could explain, like, descriptively, but you.
I might get the aboutness. No, because if I know you and I know the choices you make, I know how you're going to contextualize the meaning behind the choice you're necessarily going to make.
Well, sure, but that's because you've already.
Caleb, after you're done, put me in your queue.
Okay, we heard you the first time, and I think he said okay. Thank you.
Is that Adrian Stidman?
Yeah, this is Adrian Dibbon. So, McZed,
Someone brought him up.
this is my
I brought
question.
him up, and I'm regretting it because it was getting really interesting.
This is
right?
my.
So
Oh, it was?
It's taken a more conversational turn, Adrian.
Wait, you guys don't know about it?
I'd appreciate it if you could respect that. Caleb.
Sure
please go
thing.
ahead
You're a
and
mod. Just put me in the queue. Let me know when I can go.
I can't socialize you. I don't have enough time.
Excuse me? Can you just put me in your queue, you little bitch?
Conversation, so just junkie.
By the way, for the record, after that, little bitch,
You little
I'm
bitch.
the one that dropped him to the audience. Someone else brought him up, but once he said "you little bitch," I'm the one that dropped him to the audience. Just FYI, you all. Mods.
That was Adrian Dittman.
Mods, please continue.
Yeah, anyway,
Oh, sorry.
Caleb.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The qualia and the aspects, like I agree with Mixed that we could predict it, but if Mixed saying like, well, the AI is saying Caleb is sad right now, and Mixed could say like, oh, I've been sad, I know how it feels, right? But like, if he observes me stub my toe, and let's say that Mixed has never stubbed his toe before, right? He can know that I'm currently in pain in my foot, but that doesn't mean that he's in.
They kicked me. It was just getting to the good part. That was fascinating, honestly. Fucking really disappointed. I don't know. You kicked me out of that. That's just too bad. That's a shame. It's a doggone shame. Can't believe they do that. These unscrupulous Clubhouse users have to control their willies. I say free the willy.
Filling, then the aboutness you attribute to your actions and means, right? You're a flawed human. You try to ascribe meaning, and you find the one that feels true to you. Theoretically, an AI that's like engineered for perfection could give you the actual answer. Not your best approximation, but actually the thing that best characterizes your actions to you. Like your guess as to what best characterizes it, the best thing. Like you would have gotten it over time, or it could even know that you need to go through this process, in about 20 minutes. You'll
How does it
understand.
can it account for the mechanism of change? Like when I change my opinions, when my experiences change?
If it's a properly calibrated calculus algorithm of your choices, it would know your future. Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't see
What is that mechanism?
I mean, the
You can't
calculus is that we don't know. We don't know the push and pull. We approximate and we just get the answer. That's the calculus we're trying to
If you don't know, then what is the issue?
Well, I don't need to know. I'm asking.
There's so much in the subconscious.
We stopped caring about the how and we got to the what. We have the answer. We don't know how.
get
Right.
it.
No, but I'm asking. He doesn't know, obviously, right? Like why?
Why? Who keeps letting David back up on the stage? I had no idea. I kind of like David.
It's definitely Harlequin. We know that.
I really, honestly, no, I'm not letting anyone up after Adrian. I made that mistake already. Well, does David always tell people to calm down and he doesn't have anything to contribute, at least not? I mean, that's not untrue, Kate.
Yeah, I can.
Zach, just before we get
absolutely.
what is the mechanism that, like,
With all due
asking,
respect, I can have like a.
bringing up David, I was going to say all due respect doesn't mean that you're actually saying with all due respect just takes up more time, and so it becomes like even bigger.
I suppose that's how sensitive you are to like delays and speech. Like, yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Usually anything that follows with all due respect is completely disrespectful.
It's true. It can start becoming like a barb in your head. Oh, I know what's coming.
And it's weird if it's not, right? Like,
Right. With all due respect, and then he just says, "You're a great person."
oh, due respect, even breaks
How should I take that?
personality.
I can ask a question about identity. I'm a little unclear about this. So I'm thinking about like, say you have somebody who has a felony conviction and they did something bad, much younger when they were young, and they, went to prison. They got out, and 2 decades later, they are remorseful over what they did. They they're a changed person, sort of, I guess. They wouldn't do that now, but they did back then. And so in a case like that, is that act that they did in the past, should we consider that part of what constitutes their identity?
Yes.
In the now?
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Well, okay. Primarily because they did it. They know what it's like. They know what it's like to live with it. They don't have the experience of, say, myself, someone that has never committed a murder. They have the experience of someone that did commit a murder and came to terms with the wrongness of that act. It's somewhat instructive to say, I wouldn't say that person that stopped murdering and repented and was a good, upstanding citizen for the rest of his life, I don't think that person really changed. And I'll gain a little support from like the Jewish term for repentance, which is teshuva, which means returning. The idea that, think of him as like a baby, as a toddler, like a little kid. That's not a murderer. That's like a good, healthy person that could interact with others. And like, he was given a path of choices that led him to a really terrible choice. And he experienced that. He knows what that's like. But we're really not trying to get him to be different than what he became. We're trying to get him to return to what he was before he made those choices. Because he could have been different. Any of us could become murderers if the right choices are put in front of us. And any of us can return if,
But isn't that just like caught up in the wind with poeticism, naivete, and nostalgia? And just generally like this pining longing for innocence, the human condition, stuff like that. I mean,
Harlequin,
no one can return to the person that they were, right? Isn't that usually the moral that follows in those kinds of teachings? Is there's a compromise, right? Like, well, I can't be who I once was, but I don't have to be such an asshole, or I mean,
No, that's my thing. I'm saying you are who you were. You never like.
New York Strip.
You're right. That actually would be a more succinct and distinct.
Let's flush this room out. Damn.
Process of back home, right? So you are a thing. You kind of leave, and there's the seams of change, but then you return home and you reconcile all of those. So yeah, I guess that is kind of what I was getting.
Yeah, meaning.
But so the point being is that identity in that context isn't actual, except you're making it seem like because that's the conversation, right?
How do you mean?
Are you sorry?
Not actual? What do you mean?
Well, I guess because if we're talking about it in terms of like politicism, like identity, then I think that's a separate conversation, right? Because we're asking the question that if it's actual, insofar as that is going to be a part of the broader conversation of like free will versus
The actual identity.
Yeah, because like If identity doesn't
What would you
exist,
say
then
the actual identity is?
sorry.
What would you say the actual identity is?
Well, I'm asking you. If
I thought I
it's not just the poeticism that you're referencing.
No,
where then, like,
I said
this is the.
I said there's a certain basic personality based on the nature. You look, are someone like your mother and father, regardless of whether they raised you. That's just the nature. And then there's nurture, different choices that were presented to you and that you made. That's the memory that you have. Mostly the nature plus the memory you have access to. The things you've done and the things you've thought about.
Yeah, but I think that we have no choice again not to be determined, identified and bound by our memory, by our past deeds, the generalized thing. And there has been a very direct connection with the main topic, which is freedom. I think identity definition is basically the infrastructure of who we are as people. It is the infrastructure of our personality. We are talking about patterns and thoughts that have been repeated over and over again until they become and they're being absorbed. That's like something that's sent basically to the subconscious level and form. There's some sort of like operating system to who we really are. This is what I am. So we are talking basically, we want to really break it down about thoughts that have formed to certain patterns. And we're talking about thoughts that we change, basically. We as human beings, psychologically speaking, have this access to the subconscious. We might owe it to the sense of the psychoanalytics or in psychology. And some would argue that if it is someone else, basically, to get access to our subconscious,
Yeah, you can argue that all you want, but no, I don't believe it. Hello, I don't believe anybody else has access to my subconscious.
Well, yeah, this is.
Well, that's great. Since you disagree, please tell us all who else has access to your subconscious.
That's what I want to say. You are right.
If no, well, thank you. Okay.
You do not have access to your subconscious. So if you do not have access to your subconscious, you are right. But when you say you have access to your subconscious, you are also right. So it's about the decision you make. Is it something instantaneous that's just like, okay, maybe we can happen? No, it's something that is systematic. It's something that needs to be worked on. There's some purchase methods to get there. But what I'm trying to get to now is that we're talking about patterns and things that change basically. And back to what Elliot was saying, no, that was presented. And he just did something after the wrong moment, something that basically regretted the convention. Yes, it's not to change infrastructure.
All right, go ahead and go on mute. Go ahead and go on mute. Go on mute. Go on mute. Go on mute. If you need help, I'll put you on mute. Obviously, you need help, so I'm going to put you on mute. I want to ask the mods, because I'm ignorant. Mods, and maybe it's an accent, maybe it's a connection issue. Did any of you understand what he just said in the past 3 minutes, or is it just me? Okay, once again, Enterprise, you're really low. I need you to speak up loud so I can hear you. Enterprise, if you understood what he said, please tell me.
No, I did not understand.
You did not. Thank you. Did any other mods understand what he said? Because I did not.
No, I didn't understand.
Yeah, all right, there you go. Mods, please continue.
Well, if you have certain questions, I can.
No, I don't have any questions. What I know is that you spoke for 3 minutes and no one understood what the fuck you said. That's what I...
Nicely said, Uncle Steve.
You can laugh all you want. You can laugh all you want.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm
Oh,
I
I
said I'll
thought
try.
okay, fine, good. I'm glad you're not laughing.
Okay.
Maybe you want to circle back to the part where, because it's probably not a good idea, especially if Elliot doesn't know, since Elliot was mentioned. Do you want to maybe just circle back to the thing you were saying that was kind of in reference to something that Elliot mentioned earlier?
Yeah, just define. I mean, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
I gotta tell you, when Elliot speaks, I understand it perfectly. When Harlequin speaks, I understand him perfectly. That's a lie. When Cora speaks, I understand her perfectly. You spoke for 3 minutes. I didn't understand anything you said.
May I rephrase it very concisely? Okay. I just gave a definition to what identity is, and I just said it's the infrastructure of personality, and it's basically made of thoughts that are changeable. And I just referred to what Eliot was said in his analogy about that criminals who became resentful eventually. And in that analogy, I said that I tend to agree with Eliot that yes, that criminal in that instance, in that resentful moment, is
Life is a meme.
All those three undertake in certain different ways disciplines which have the intent of releasing them from their karma. The individual, in other words, challenges his involvement, his attachments, his limitations, his finitude, and endeavors to overcome it. But in each of these three cases, the individual involved stirs up an immense opposition, because he serves notice upon the devil, or shall we say upon